he seems like a perseverer. All these brain surgeries, all these injuries that he's went through. George grew up a very poor. This he's a survivor, man. And you guys know how I like to talk about these motivational stories. I ask him if this is spirituality that got him through all this stuff. But like I said, he grew up Stockton, 5 or 6 kids, a 2-bedroom, 1 bathroom, no air conditioner, 1,000 square foot house. Very similar. Let's see if he can hear me now. Hey, George.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, that's great, man.
All righty, here we go.
Man, you look good. You look good. I was just telling the audience, I'm glad you can hear me. You've kind of been through hell and hot water in your life.
It's been a crazy ride, to put it lightly.
Yeah, but hey, man, I gave your introduction already. I wanted to ask you, what's the reason for writing this book?
Well, it's a crazy story because it didn't start out as a book. I live for 40-something years. I live in these Write in the Rain notebooks, right? All day long, I have to write down literally what I do, who I speak to. Every day of my life, they're in these things, okay? And then when I finish one, I'll write on the cover, like what day it goes to, what day, and then each day highlights, right? And so I got so sick of every time I saw a doctor, I'd filling out the forms, and it's like, okay, I had my first concussion when I was 13 years old, knocked unconscious in Pop Warner, this surgery, that surgery, I've got 15, 16 surgeries. So then one day I decided, I'm just going to write down everything and have
because you couldn't remember all this stuff, George.
Oh, no. And so I just thought I'll pre-write it.
Yeah.
And every time I see a doctor, they could just staple it to the back of my intake form, right?
Okay.
So I started writing stuff down. I was like, oh yeah, my first concussion, 3rd year Pop Warner. We won the championship and played in the Gold Nugget Bowl. And then as all my injuries, I started putting things around them. And all of a sudden I had like 25 pages. I go, gosh, that's the beginning of a book. So it just kept going.
Yeah.
And literally years ago, I had 510 pages that I sent to publishers, and they said, what a story, but it's way too long, And so I had to really chop and whittle. And then, of course, my case hadn't settled yet either. They said there's no ending to it. So once we settled it, then I worked with Susan December of Silver Script Productions, an awesome producer, publisher. And we've got the book dialed in. It starts off with my upbringing in Stockton, California.
Yeah.
5 to 6 kids, 2-bedroom.
That's a well-known upbringing. That's hard. Why did you want to play football? Where did your motivation come from?
Well, I'm the 5th of 6 kids, and there's 2 older brothers and 2 older sisters. Both my older brothers went on and played college ball.
Okay.
And in the Visger household, being tough was like, so growing up, my oldest brother's 10 years older than me, and he took upon himself to make me tough, right?
Yeah.
We laugh about it to this day.
Yeah.
How he would slap me around. I'm going, Gomez, you had like 10 years on me. Come on, man. He goes, I know. Then my other brother, Mel, was 4 years older, and we used to box and just, everything was competitive. Yeah. And as a little kid, I was always very focused and driven to be the best. I always wanted to be the best in everything, whether it was in reading, third grade class. I wanted to be the first one to finish the problems, and with my brothers, it was very competitive. And so as I grew up, I wanted to be better than them. I loved them. My older brother played in the Junior Rose Bowl with Sacramento State University back in the late 60s. And my other brother, Mel, was just a beast. He wanted to play college ball. I wanted to be better than them.
Man, you guys must have ran across O.J. Simpson, didn't you, at some point?
Well, O.J. played at the Niners. His last year was the year before I got there. He was 79. Yeah.
I was thinking maybe in the college years, being up from Stockton area.
You know what? Never played against him.
Your brothers never did either?
No.
Okay.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. I was just finishing rewatching that documentary on O.J. Simpson. It's great, man. that made in America.
Yeah, what a story, huh, man?
So you mentioned something. So let's go back to when you first got hurt. You get drafted out of Colorado. You go to the NFL, which is also that's a great feat in its own. You were actually drafted. You went to the Jets. You get cut. You picked up by the 49ers. You said in this message here, you got a concussion, but you do not remember anything the next day that you actually played. Tell us about that. What happened there?
So, yeah, I was drafted by the Jets. My big goal, I wanted to go on the first round. And back then there were 12 rounds. So I went in the 6th round and it just made it. I went to the Jets and I was competing against I was defensive end. I was competing against Joe Klecko, who's now in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, yeah.
Mark Gastineau, who ended up setting sack records that next year. Marty Lyons was their first round pick the year ahead of me. They had some stud linemen,
It was pretty deep there, wasn't it?
And so anyway, I got cut into preseason, and the Niners picked me up about the 5th game of the season.
This Dallas, yeah.
And back then, I had no idea that once the season started, it was just every week they're cutting guys and bringing new guys in.
Yeah.
I figured the final cut day meant final cut day, right? And so they traded Baltimore for a veteran defensive tackle. He played 2 weeks. They cut him, bring me in. And it was a short week, if I remember correctly. We were playing on like a Saturday. And so the way it works in the NFL is you play games on Sunday. Mondays are a light workout, get treatments, there's meetings, and Tuesdays are the days off. Well, Tuesdays are the days they bring guys in to work out. So when you come to practice on Wednesday, we made like 26 roster changes my rookie year after the final cut day.
Man.
So every week there's 1 or 2 guys gone. You're looking around going, man, where's Paul and Mike? Some new guys here. So it was always hanging over your head.
A lot of movement in it. Yeah.
So they cut this guy, bring me in. It's a short week. So I just have Wednesday, Thursday to practice. Friday we fly to Dallas. And they give me a real skinny playbook. Just learn the basics.
Yeah.
And I was pumped because I started one preseason game when I was at the Jets against the Steelers, and then got cut. So this is my first real game, right?
You had to be hyped, man.
Preseasons don't count; those aren't real games.
Yeah.
So I'm in early first quarter. I'm playing defensive tackle. It's a goal line. Dallas is I don't know what yard they're on. Anyway, very first play I'm in, I got get ear hold on a Dallas tight end trap. Don't remember that game. Don't remember playing the Rams the following week.
Man.
A week and a half or so
they're
later.
giving you smelling salts.
Well, yeah. So a week and a half later, the trainers and doctors are laughingly telling me I went through 15 or 20 smelling salts during the Dallas game. Yeah. I'd come off sideways, clear your head, go back in. It was a joke back then. Got your bell rung.
No, it's very serious. Yeah.
Yeah. And so anyway, I played the rest of the day. They actually cut me and it brought me back. I was gone for a couple of weeks. It brought me back, played the rest of the season. And my rookie year, when I was drafted by the Jets, and I started lifting weights when I was in 7th grade, when I played on my first Pee Wee Pop Warner team. My goal was to play in the NFL.
Yeah.
And so when I got drafted, I was like 255. Maybe that was the biggest I'd ever been. And I started 3 years in Colorado. And so after the mini camp, the defensive line coach takes me off to the side and says, we really like what we see. If you can put on 20 or 25 pounds of muscle before camp starts, there's a place for you here, son. And I'm looking at him going, it took me 4 years of college to put on 20 pounds of muscle. He kind of gives me his little winks like, you know what to do, boy.
Oh, man, you had to do something legal, yeah.
Yeah, and it wasn't illegal then. I mean, I don't even know how they push you to do it, so and I'm not proud of it, but I got on the roids for like 6 weeks and I came back to camp at 275, put on 20 pounds. I was benching 460. I was already benching about 440 before. I was in good shape,
Yeah.
And
now you'd be an end at 255, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Edge rusher.
Right. And then, and I didn't lose any speed. Not that I was blazing, but I ran a 4.9, which was decent. And into preseason, they still cut me. And I'm thinking, man, first of all, what did I do anything to my body? And so anyway, so the Niners picked me up, and I'm playing a lot heavier that year than I'd ever played.
Yeah.
So play the rest of the season with 49ers. I think we go like 8-8. You know, we're mediocre, 6-10, something like that. So in the off season, I dropped about 16 pounds. I got down to like 259. Didn't lose any speed, any strength. Up my speed. I was in the greatest shape of my life. And I come back to camp because we were really hurting for pass rush my rookie year. And our pass defense was horrendous. And so that year was the year we drafted Ronnie Lott, Eric Wright, and Carlton Williamson. So we had 3 rookie DBs starting.
They were ballers.
Which is unheard of. And they kicked butt. And then we brought in Fred Dean. When I had my first brain surgery, they ended up signing Fred Dean from San Diego.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like the missing piece. All of a sudden, we had this hellacious defense. And the offense could always put points on the board.
Right.
And
did you think Montana was special then? Just by watching him in practice?
No, I'll tell you why. Because, first of all, I never liked quarterbacks.
You couldn't hit them
even
practice anyway.
Even my own, you know, they had little red jerseys. You couldn't touch them in practice. You know, I mean, they put little tutus on them, and everyone else could get this. Everyone could get the snot knocked out of them. But heaven forbid if you breathe on the quarterback.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, Bill Solomon, quarterback at Colorado. I love Bill to this day. I still love. I love you, Bill.
One of the best.
But you know what? So I don't know. I never really paid much attention to him. And I know, like my rookie year when I came in '80, Steve DeBerg was still starting. This was Montana's second season.
Yeah.
And then late in my rookie year in '80, they put Montana in, started him the last few games of the season, and then they got rid of DeBerg in the offseason. So '81 was the first full season Montana started. And we go 14-2, went to playoffs, take the Super Bowl. I mean, his first year starting. So he was something special. Absolutely. Don't get me wrong.
So you were injured at that point during the playoffs when they played the Dallas in the immaculate or the catch game.
Yeah, that was actually that put us in the big game. So I blew my knee out early in the year, had knee surgery,
right,
and was coming back off of that when I started having all kinds of symptoms with my head, balls of light in front of each eyeball, pounding headaches every night, projectile vomiting. I lose my hearing when I had these headaches. So I go see the team docs, these guys were clowns.
Yeah.
And they tell me it's high blood pressure. So I'm on high blood pressure pills for 2.5 weeks when my brain's hemorrhaging.
Man.
And finally, the last night I have focal point paralysis. My arm curls up with my fist up underneath my chin.
Yeah.
I'm losing my hearing, my eyesight. My head's pounding. I'm rooming with 2 guys in the team, Terry Totolo and Scott Stouch.
Okay.
And we had played Chicago that day, and I hadn't played because I was on injury reserve with my knee surgery. And and they kept checking on me all night. Man, just let's take you to the hospital. Yeah, you know, I'm good. It's high blood pressure. I'm eating these high blood pressure pills. And 2 minutes later, they're rolling around the bottom of the bowl, you know, puking. And so finally, about 4:30 in the morning, I don't know what time it was. Man, I'm laying there. I'm losing my eyesight. I'm losing my hearing. My head's ready to explode. And then my arm does this it's known as focal point paralysis. I found it out first. It curls up under my chin, and I grab my arm. I'm laying in bed thinking, man, that's a weird cramp. But when I grabbed this arm, I couldn't feel it.
Yeah.
And so I pulled it out, and whenever I'd let go, it would just curl back up and do one of these. So now I'm laying in bed. I'm praying. I'm thinking, okay, God, I'm dying. Don't let me die like this. So I'm thinking, okay, if Terry or Scott comes in to check on me, I'll let him take me to the hospital. But I'm not going to be a pussy and go wake him up. I mean, you know, that's the mentality.
That's that mentality in it.
Yeah. And so I finally pass out. I don't know what time it was, you know, 5 or whatever. And so the days after games, you know, we go in the locker room, I don't know, 8 o'clock or whatever, you know. And so I get up in the morning. I could move my hand, but I could barely lift a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And so we go in, and All the injured players, you get treatment on your injuries. Anyone that got dinged in the game gets treatment. The docs are in the locker room. There's a couple light meetings, break a sweat, and you're out of there. And now I'm pissed because I know these freaking idiot doctors, they're telling me it's high blood pressure. And I'm 22 years old. I know it's not high blood pressure. So I wait till Dr. Bailing, our orthopedic surgeon, whose nickname was Dr. D for Dr. Doom. And this was before 3 of my teammates from that season successfully won malpractice suits against him. This is before he ever even lost a suit.
Yeah.
He already had a reputation for just.
Yeah, I'm curious of when you actually found out that was a concussion.
Well, they never told me it was a concussion. This day, they never told me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you have amnesia for a week and a half. You don't remember playing the following week.
Yeah.
So anyway, I go on. I wait till he saw everybody that got dinged during the game. He had a little office in the locker room, and I walk in. He looks at me. He says, "What now?" And I says, "You SOB." I said, "Don't tell me it's high blood pressure. My arm went paralyzed last night." And he rolls his eyes. He tells me to sit on the table. He grabs a little retinoscope, those little flashlights to look in your eye with, And this is how my book starts. This is the first sentence.
Okay.
He looks in my eye, and here's the first sentence. "Oh, my God, your brain's hemorrhaging." I jump off the table, ready to kill him. He's going, no, wait. And I'm going off on him.
Yeah.
He starts scrambling. He grabs a phone. He's calling a couple numbers. He scribbles a number on a piece of paper, hands it to me. And this is where my story turns into a comedy. He hands me a piece of paper. He says, "Here, go home, lay down, and drive yourself down to Stanford Hospital and see this neurologist this afternoon."
Dang.
So my first thought was, oh, man, it must be one of those mild brain hemorrhages where he would have called an ambulance.
No,
So
God.
I look back on it now.
Yeah.
It was giving them time to regroup and go, okay, we screwed up on Visger. So I go back to my apartment that I share with Terry Totolo and Scott Stouch. And both of those guys, they cut while I'm in intensive care with my brain surgery. Okay. They disappeared.
Yeah.
The only ones on the team to know what was going on. So I go back, lay down, and my symptoms would be I'd wake up in the morning with a pounding headache. It would get worse and worse. And by the afternoon, I'd start puking my guts out. And I told the docs, when I puke, I said, I could hit the ball from like 20 yards away and chip porcelain. Well, that's known as projectile vomiting. That's a classic sign of intracranial pressure. Okay.
Yeah.
So I go back, lay down. That afternoon, I drive through Bay Area traffic to Stanford Hospital to see this neurologist. He takes one look at me. They want to do a CT brain scan.
Yeah.
I said, "Hey, doc," they couldn't get me in for like an hour or so. I said, and Stanford was about, 30 minutes from where I was living.
And you was driving yourself?
Oh, yeah. In Bay Area.
Wow, this is crazy, man.
Isn't it? So it gets crazy.
Yeah.
Believe me, this is just the beginning of 38 years of crazy. Okay. So he goes, he couldn't get me in for another hour and a half. And I said, "Hey, doc, I'm getting close to my puking time. I'll come back." And he says, "You drove here?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "You can't drive like this." I said, "I've been driving like this for weeks." He goes, "We're putting you in a room." I'm arguing. I don't need a damn room. They convinced me to hang out in a room. Hour and a half later, take me in, do a CT brain scan, rush me in, do emergency brain surgery. Yeah. So I had developed hydrocephalus, water on the brain, from my concussions. And so they had to drill a hole in my skull, which they moved it 4 times. So I had 4 different holes.
Okay.
There's a tube goes in the middle of my brain. They ran a tube under the skin to the back of my head. There's a pump behind my right ear. From that pump, there's a tube goes down the side of my neck, through my pec, into my abdomen. Right now, as we're speaking, it's draining spinal fluid out of my head.
Okay.
So they do emergency brain surgery. The 49ers go, "Oh, shit.
Right.
Let's make sure this doesn't get out." So I'm in intensive care for 14 days. 0 people from the facility come to see me, not even my position coach.
Yeah.
One day a woman comes in, "Hey," like we're friends. "Hi, George." Hey, going on and on. Bill bought you this. And I go, "Bill who?" She goes, "Oh, Bill Walsh." And this is what she says. She goes, she passed my arm. She goes, "Bill Walsh, do you remember him? Remember him, your coach?" I said, "Yeah, I remember him." I said, "I may be brain damaged. It's not stupid."
Yeah.
Walsh buys me a Sony Walkman, which at the time I thought was, God, how classy. Well, he did it because he didn't have the balls to come in and see me. at the
Wow.
neurosurgery ward at Stanford because people would ask questions.
Yeah.
So the only other people from the facility that come to see me were my two roommates, Terry Totolo, who I found living under an underpass in 2011 after a 9-year NFL career. You can Google Visger Totolo Channel 13 News and see this heartbreaking story he did
Okay.
on him. And then Scott Stouch was a rookie running back so those guys were coming in to see me saying, well, Walsh got up in front of the team and said you had a spinal test done. You're in Stockton recuperating at your parents' house. Because I grew up in Stockton, California, which is only about 2 hours from San Francisco.
Yeah.
And I'm laying there going, well, what is, even my position coach never came to see me.
Yeah,
I mean, I should have been his guy,
Yeah.
And so while I'm laying in intensive care, the Niners, the team doctors and the trainers are calling me, telling me, hey, Visk, we're looking to having a special main helmet to protect your shunt. You can keep playing.
Yeah.
I'm all in. I mean, that's the player's mentality. Hey, you gotta cut
Crazy.
my legs off. I'm still playing.
Right.
So by the time I get out 2 weeks later, I come back to the facility. I go back to Stockton for like a week to get back on my feet. And I come back and everyone's like, what the hell happened to you, Visk? We thought they cut you. I said, no, I didn't cut me. I had brain surgery. So all of a sudden things aren't, they're treating me weird. And I'm thinking it's just in my head. Now, of course, in my head now, I've got a bunch of tubes and pumps too. So that may have screwed things up.
Wow.
So I'm thinking they're covering up something, but it's like, what? So we're in the weight room one day. Now the season's progressing and we're rolling. They don't want anything rocking the boat. Man, we're winning. And it's late in the season. And I'm just like, man, I just feel like I would feel better if the story got out. And then so we're in the weight room working out one day, and 3 business couples came through touring the facilities, 3 husband and wife. And John McVay, our general manager, introduced them to players,
Okay.
This is Keith Von Horst, one of our, offensive tackles. This is Joe Montana, our quarterback.
You said John McVay. Is that Sean McVay's uncle or grandfather, wasn't it?
I believe it is, yeah.
Yeah.
And so he goes, yeah, this is George Visger, one of our veteran defensive linemen. He's on injury reserve. He had 2 knee operations. And this woman looks me in the eye. She goes, 2? How'd you have 2? And I said, no, ma'am, I had knee surgery and I had brain surgery. McVay looks me right in the eye with a look like, shut your mouth or you're out of here. And he says, no brain surgery. You had 2 knee operations. And now I know I'm not like getting paranoid.
So you later sold you sued the organization and the NFL per se?
I had to. They didn't pay for my second, third brain surgeries 4 months after the Super Bowl.
Well, I'm glad he did. I saw concussion. I saw how the league it was before all that.
So they told me I could still play. I'm back working out. Weird things are happening. I'm like, man, I don't know what they're not telling me, but something's, Then I started ending up in jail. I'd never been arrested in my life. I get arrested 3 times between my first brain surgery, September of 81, and my third brain surgery, May of 82. 8 months I get arrested 3 times.
For what?
I go out and have a couple beers like we did every night. And the next thing I know, it's 4, 5, 6, 7 hours later. I'm standing in jail, not passed out.
And you don't know what happened.
I have no idea how I even got there.
Yeah.
And what had happened was we had my new doc tested me right after that. My brother told him what was going on. And I drank 2 beers and they did an EEG electrodes on my brain. And I was fine after 2 beers. Just from those 2 beers, though, man, I was having brain seizures, just electrical short circuiting. My waves were all over. And they said, you can never drink. And I quit drinking in 82. And I've never had a problem.
Man.
And so I'm getting arrested. All this crazy. Then when I go see the docs after my third arrest, my neurosurgeon at Stanford, again, this is just 4 months after the Super Bowl. And I'm still on the team. I'm supposedly still playing. And I told him, hey, man, something's happened. Oh, not for my surgery. I said, well, I've been drinking since I was young. And he says, and so he goes, I told him, I said, I'm leaving for Mexico tomorrow to go fishing with my brother, Mel, and his wife. We were going to rent a little cabin on the beach and go fishing for a few days. They do a brain scan. He says, you look fine. Go ahead and leave the country. I said, what about drinking? No problem. We fly down to Cabo.
Oh, man.
That night, I have one margarita at dinner. I start getting pounding headaches. I told Mel and Nancy, I'm going to head back to the room. We were just sharing the room.
Yeah.
I go back to the room. Last thing I remember is I'm puking, my guts out, my eyesight's going again, my head's exploding. And they come in 2 or 3 hours later, I'm going into a coma. I'm wandering around the room, eyes dilated, can't speak. And I was big back then too. I was like Lenny in Of Mice and Men. My brother used to tell me.
Okay.
I'm stumbling around. So Mel, they call, and my sister-in-law was a pharmacist. They call in a doc. They don't even know what the hell he gives me.
Yeah.
Now my brother Mel is calling my brother Bob in Sacramento. Bob's calling an orthopedic surgeon friend of his, Dr. Agee. Agee's calling a neurosurgeon friend of his in Sacramento. The neurosurgeon, Dr. Cobb, is telling Dr. Agee, your friend is dying. Do not let him operate. His shunt is out. Do not let him operate in Mexico. Get him home. Bob calls Mel. You got to get him home.
How'd they get you home in that state?
Well, get this. So for the next 18 months of my life, everything I'm telling you is all secondhand. I have zero memory of the next 16, 18 months of my life. Zero.
Now, how many brain surgeries did you have? I got to wrap it up here in a few minutes, but this is an interesting story.
I had 9 in 12 years.
You had 9 in 12 years.
Yep.
And how did you keep from falling into a state of depression?
The pit?
Drugs and alcohol. How did you beat all that?
I was raised, with a very strong faith in God. Yeah. And I knew He had a plan for me.
Amen.
He gives crosses to those who can bear them. I was in some very, very dark times for many, many years. But I knew if I stayed on the path, things would work out. And, we just kept crunching. We won on my work comp case in '86. I had creditors on me for years. I was the first NFL player to ever win a work comp case.
Okay.
They offered me $35,000. I told them to shove it. I said, I want my past medical left open. I want my past medical paid. I want my future medical left open. And I can no longer function as an employee of the NFL. I don't call myself a player. I was an employee. I said, you're obliged by law to retrain me in a field of work. It's called vocational rehab.
Yeah.
So I went back to school. Now I'm in Sacramento State to finish my biology degree that I had studied 4 years for at Colorado.
Yeah.
4 more semesters of chemistry, 2 of physics, 2 of pre-calc left. In one 10-month period, I have 5 more emergency brain surgeries, several grand mal seizures while I'm taking those courses. It took me 5 more years. I was 32 years old when I graduated.
Okay.
Started work as a wildlife biologist. That shunt went out in '93. Had my 9th brain surgery. Then it just started legal battles from 2014 till 19 when I settled my case. We had to beat the Travelers, the Fort Ames work comp carrier, in 5 work comp hearings, 8 work comp appeals, and 3 times it took me clear to the California Court of Appeals to keep me from getting into treatments.
Wow.
I fought physically, emotionally.
Do you teach biology now? What do you do now?
I did. I actually taught high school biology, chemistry, environmental studies, and English language learners algebra for a couple, 2 or 3 years. And then I went back to wildlife biologist, and then I had an environmental consulting firm for many years. And now, since about 2011, I have a brain injury consulting business called the Visger Group.
Okay.
And so I speak all over the country on brain injury recovery, non-pharmaceutical treatments. I was on 4 different dementia. In 2010, they had me on 4 different dementia meds, anti-seizure pills, sleeping pills. I couldn't find my way home from work. I was a mess. I got into hyperbaric.
You're a survivor, man. Dang.
I got into hyperbaric oxygen treatments. High dose through Dr. Barry Sears. I started taking high dose omega-3 fish oil, 16 to 18 grams a day.
Okay.
Natural antioxidants like cranberry juices. After my 160th hyperbaric treatment, my neurocog memories had improved 14.3%. Now I was in my late 50s, and I quit all my dementia meds.
So you think you got CTE?
You know what? Even Dr. Omala, who's on my advisory panel and a close friend of mine, says, you have it. And I said, you know what? I'm sure I do, but I'm not going down that rabbit hole. I'm fighting it and you know what? I'm better now than I was 30 years ago.
We sound good.
I am better now than I was 30
You're still in
years
shape. You're still lifting weights and stuff, I can tell.
Just got back from the gym a little bit ago. I'm down to I was 275 playing. I'm like 209 now.
Yeah.
I boned out a bear I shot the other day and made a big bear stew for
Did
dinner
you really?
tonight. Oh yeah, I do.
You live out in Colorado?
We're in Idaho now.
Oh, that's right, Idaho. Yeah. I saw it.
So I'll do 7, 8, 9 a day backpack deer hunts in the middle of nowhere, and
man,
I stay in shape for my hunts and stuff, and it's good for your mind.
Yeah. They should make a movie about your life. It's interesting, George.
It's pretty crazy. I mean, just
I'll
finishing the biology degree.
By the way.
Yeah, it's all in there. There's just a ton in there. It's a pretty wild story. But, it's a good story, too, because it was the David versus Goliath, and we stood toe-to-toe with those bastards, and we kicked them in the teeth, and they paid their bills like they should have.
Yeah.
And they ended up...
I love it. I know it's bad. You don't follow it no more, do you?
Nah. I follow my buffs. Been back a couple games in the last few. I've always stayed close. I have about 8 my old Colorado Buffalo teammates from the 70s.
You like Dion?
You know what? When they first hired him, I'm like, how is this going to work? I tell you what, and he invited a bunch of the alumni out for a game his first year. There was 200 something of us, and we had 33 guys from my Orange Bowl team.
Oh, nice.
My team is incredibly tight.
Yeah.
And man, we're looking around going, you know what? He's the real deal.
Yeah.
Disciplined, focused, no screwing around, man. These kids are there to get an education, to play ball. I tell you what, he does a hell of a job, man.
And he's been sick too. Hopefully he'll be okay.
Yeah. But no, I went in thinking, wow, how's this gonna work? No, he's the real deal.
That's good to hear. That's
100% good to hear. Behind him. Yep.
So it's called Facing the Giants. When do you think this will be out? You're saying July-ish?
It's going to be out into this month.
Okay.
They're doing the final. It's called Facing Giants, my 38-year battle. So the 3 giants I had to face were hydrocephalus,
yes,
the $19 billion NFL, and the $26.3 billion Travelers.
Wow.
38 years we went toe-to-toe with those guys, and we knocked them in the teeth.
That's good to hear. It's good to hear the everyday person win,
Just, what, and I was a nobody in the NFL. I was a little blue-collar kid, just, scratching to make a team. And I saw it was my dream,
Yeah.
And
the fact that you went back to school, though, and got your degree and got to teach, and you didn't feel sorry for yourself, you didn't commit suicide. A lot of people would going through all these surgeries.
I'm telling you, I've lost several very close friends that I worked with. June 2nd of this last year.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm out fly fishing Silver Creek, Idaho, with one of my Colorado teammates.
Okay.
Rodeo Bo McCabe, who's coming over in just a little bit for some bear stew. He was with me when we got the bear. He had a stroke a few years ago with me. He struggles. We're out fly fishing. I get a phone call from one of my Pop Warner high school teammates back in Stockton, California.
Yeah.
Mark Davis. Hey, Marky Poo, how you doing, brother? I hear this strange voice. No, George, this is Sean, his son. And I'm thinking, I've never met Sean. He says, my dad hasn't been answering the phone, and I came over here. He killed himself.
Oh, man.
He's sitting in his chair with his phone in his hand. He's trying to call you. Now, I've been working with Mark for 4 years.
Oh, my God.
He kept calling me going, hey, Fisk, my brain's effed up. My brain's. I said, so was mine. This is what I do. Okay. Go back a few years prior. Okay. Jason Harrison. Jason Harrison played 1 year on the 49ers practice squad, like in 95.
Okay.
1 year on the Broncos practice squad, 96. Like 15 years after, he's a big time hunter fish. Went on and found a Sitka gear, built that into a multi-million-dollar business, sold it, then founded Kuiu, out hunting, top of the line hunting stuff, right?
Yeah.
And several years ago, And we hunted together. And several years ago, out of the blue, he called me, told me he took a shotgun to bed with him the night before.
Man.
And I turned around, I drove down, I met him at the hyperbaric clinic in Sacramento, introduced him to my buddy Mike Greenholm, my brother, I call him, who treated me. I said, you're not going down that rabbit hole. And I got really busy with legal battles, and I'm living at Center for Neuroskills about 2 or 3 years later. And one of my nephews called and said, Uncle George.
Yeah.
Jason took a shotgun to bed with him last night and blew his brains out.
Yeah. Well, think about Junior Seau, you know?
Junior, now Terry Totola, my roommate in the Niners. That was Junior's cousin.
Okay.
Check and see what Terry was like when I found him living under underpass in 2011. This game destroys your mind.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Do you think they'll ever fix it? I mean, I know they got new helmets now, and they've changed the kickoff rule.
If you go to when they hired Dr. Rich Ellenbogen like in 2010 as the new brain injury guy, and I didn't know who in the hell he was. All I know is if he was with the NFL, he was my enemy. So I posted a message to him on Dave Pear's blog. Pear was an All-Pro defensive tackle with the Raiders, and he got chewed up and thrown around. And so I post this letter, dear Dr. Ellenbogen, I pray you're not another paid whore, but NFL owners, blah 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 blah. I hope you do the right thing. So anyway, he calls me. Yeah, and we go back and forth, not fun at first, and then we end up building up a great relationship. And then later on, he came to me his first year while he was the head of their mild traumatic brain injury group.
Okay.
And he asked me for suggestions to reduce brain injuries in football. I sent him 5 pages, and Sports Digest got a hold of my recommendations in maybe 2010. And there's an article you can Google, the Visger Rules Sports Digest, and you can go through all these recommendations I gave, and every year 1 or 2 more they're implementing. And,
nice. So you are making a difference.
You know, I said shorten up the kickoff. I mean, there's a whole bunch of things I put in there.
Yeah.
You know, one of my recommendations was start all linemen in a 2-point stance. So you're not leading with your head. It's all pass blocking and position blocking, you know?
Yeah.
I had a lot of stuff in there.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense, doing a 2-point versus a 3-point.
But my last suggestion to him, and I said, here's a suggestion. I said, which I know you'll never do. You want to reduce brain injury in football? Get rid of helmets. Yeah. They teach you every play, you lead with your face, you stick your face in the numbers, you know, you use your brain as a weapon to hit people. Yeah. And I don't know why.
What about leather helmets? Well, back to leather helmets, George.
You know, so now they have all these fancy dancy helmets, but the bottom line is it's all physics. You have guys that are 290 pounds running 4.6 40s.
Yeah, big time.
The kinetic energy they generate is ungodly. And so you have that brain moving at 4.6 40, and when you hit, the helmet may stop. That brain, it's encased in fluid. It sloshes around, and it bounces off the front of the skull, the back. It's called counter coup injuries. Yeah. So when it's sloshing, your neurons are stretching, and that's why. And those neurons get inflamed, and they start dying off early. And that's why NFL players have a 4 times higher rate of Lou Gehrig's disease, a 3.5 times higher rate of Parkinson's disease. We have a 3 times higher rate of early onset dementia, which I've been diagnosed with.
Okay.
I could go on and on and on.
Really? You got early dementia now?
I was diagnosed with dementia in 2010. I was told to turn in my driver's license, file for disability, and get my finances in order. And I was running I had a small environmental consulting business. I had 3 young kids. I said, what are you telling me? The doc says, well, George, you know, you'll never get any better. And I said, really? I went down to Dr. Amen's clinic for a 3-day neurocog evaluation.
Okay.
So this isn't just me talking. I was in my late 50s, so I have baseline data. Amen recommended hyperbaric oxygen treatments. I went back, and I was living in we were homeless. I lost my home. I ended up sleeping in hyperbaric clinic for 2.5 years. Yeah. My kids and wife moved in with her mom. It was a nightmare. And so after every 40 hyperbaric, and then I connect with Dr. Barry Sears, another one of my angels. Out of the blue, this guy hears about me,
Yeah.
He has Medwell Health. He starts shipping me gallons of his top of the line purified omega-3 fish oils.
Okay.
Which are great for ameliorating inflammation in the brain, repairing neurons. So I started doing like 16 to 18 grams a day of fish oil. I was doing hyperbaric oxygen treatments. After every 40 hyperbarics, I would go back down to Amen's clinic and undergo a 7-hour neurocog evaluation. After my 160th hyperbaric treatment, and I'm pushing 60 years old at the time, my neurocog memory scores improved 14.3%, and I'd quit all the damn dementia meds they had me on.
Wow.
And to this day, I take one tiny little dose of a Boost Bar. I mean, that's it.
That was 15 years ago.
Yep, exactly.
That's a miracle in its own right there.
It is. And I do natural antioxidants. I keep in shape. I do memory games. I work my brain like a muscle. I pray, I meditate.
Yeah.
We eat healthy. And I tell you what, man, I'm 67 years old now.
Yeah. They girls my dad's age. Yeah.
In 2010, they told me to pack it in.
Yeah. A lot of people don't make it too long after that dementia.
No. I'm going to kick its ass like we did the Travelers in the NFL.
Yeah. Hey, that's great. George, how do you say your last name? Visker?
Visger.
Visger. Okay.
Yeah, it's not something like a Z. It's Visger.
Okay. You know what? I'll send you a copy of this. I'll edit this probably between today and tomorrow, just of our interview there, George. And I appreciate you making it, man.
Hey, I'm glad I was able to make it on. I didn't want to leave you hanging.
Oh, that's all right. That's okay. I know you told me you had all those surgeries and stuff. And something may have happened, man.
Well, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll try to bring you back on. I'm going to order that book, and maybe we'll talk about it afterwards. I'll have some more questions.
Let's do it. Absolutely.
All right. Thanks, buddy. I'm going to give you this round of applause. Thanks, buddy. Have a good night.
You too. Thank you, bud.
God bless you. All right.